All right. How about this scenario? It is 2018, and the United States of America has gone stateless. No government. Freedom. And all the white people are going to round up all the black people and enslave them. These are the words, not exactly, but this is what a friend of mine told me. He wrote to me and told me that what I am advocating, if you don't know by now, I advocate peace. I advocate freedom. And freedom, you can't have freedom with government. It's unfortunate, but yes, that is the truth. You can't have peace with government. Government itself is immoral, right? It's violent. So, anyway, I advocate peace, freedom. And he says, well, without government, okay, let me try to say exactly what he says. Oh my God. He says, God, I better read this. Hang on. I think it's going to be more interesting. You are in the US now enjoying the freedom that law guarantees in a racially charged society of black-white dichotomy, and you are campaigning against law. Let me tell you, as soon as you succeed with this campaign, be ready to relocate to the moon, because those whites will turn you to a slave and nobody to question them. So if you are a white person listening to this and you are a US citizen, well, this is for you. Being black from Africa, well, I'm going to tell you that my friend says you will enslave me and the rest of the black community in the US, black race, into slavery. Of course, that will never happen. Well, the reason that will almost 100% not happen is, one, because in the United States, right, both blacks and whites can keep a weapon for their protection. So if anyone, not just black or white or anyone, if anyone tries to do anything to you, you can protect yourself. So it's not like we're going to go, the whites are going to go into our rooms and just cage us all and just grab us like basically they did during slavery, which there were more black slaveholders than there were whites. But that's a story for another time. So it's not like, we are all chained up and the white people here in the US will go and basically collect us. No, that is not going to happen. People will defend themselves because they have the ability to own a weapon. It's not going to be like what happened back in the days when slavery was legal here in the US. So that is one. Two, it's not like people's morality suddenly will change because there's no government. So if you don't believe that rape is good, if you believe that rape is bad, And of course, the government says rape is bad. And then all of a sudden, if there's no government, you won't suddenly start to think rape is good now. It does not happen that way. Or, for example, you live in the United States and you go to some stateless land. There are actually, although they are debatable, countries that are kind of, or geographical area that are kind of looking to form their own country. They are not country yet. For example, I think Freedom Land, is that what it's called? I do not remember. There are a couple of them that want to form their own country, although the owner of that geographical area are not allowing that for the moment. So all of a sudden, you are in the US where there's government and laws and all of these things. When you go to this geographical area where there's kind of absence of government and people are working into forming one. For example, this one that I knew already has a president. They have their representative ambassadors to other countries and so on and so forth. And so on and so forth. So for example, you are from here, you go to that kind of geographical places, and all of a sudden, now you believe rape is good. It does not happen that way. And this is, when you tell people you advocate a stateless society, a society that is governed by peace, immediately people think of chaos. People think of lawlessness. That's what comes to mind. And this fear of lack of protection is like taking your too old child and drop them in the middle of the desert. Or let's say 3 or 4 year old. Dropping them in the middle of the desert with the hot, scorching sun, no water, no food, and you tell them you are on your own. I mean, if they grasp the idea of what desert is, usually at that time, they are a little bit aware where food comes from and where they can get food and all of that. Man, they'll go berserk. No one wants to stay without food, water, very hot, no shelter. So it's like you are taking people and dropping them, taking their 5-year-old self and dropping them onto a desert. Hey, let's add one more fun to the analogy. With tigers around, snakes that are ready to eat you. So it's like taking their 5-year-old self and taking them into the middle of the desert. That's what I feel. That's how people react when you tell them about stateless society. So completely, emotions will take over first. Usually our emotions are the first to kick in. And they are done so for our protection. So that's how people feel. Now, and that is absolutely not, unfortunately, this is something that is real. People feel like that. So as someone who I am into this, I want to kind of allay the fears of people by talking to them through this. I understand that and I accept that. But that's how I feel. That's what I think people are reacting to. They are reacting to that sudden sense of security that they thought they had. And all of a sudden, it's not there. It's completely emotional, not rational. When you go to my mother's village, for example, and you tell them you are going to abolish the police or the Department of Transportation or the Department of Education, they're like, okay, sure. You know why? Because there's absolutely no impact of these departments in Nigeria, in my mother's village. I can assure you, almost zero impact. People in my mother's village and my father's village basically almost live stateless. You can have any business you like. Nobody's taxing you. But of course, you are under the country Nigeria and you have to use money, government money, the naira, and you are affected by the inflation, deflation, all of that currency manipulation. That is really the biggest impact. Otherwise, there's absolutely almost no impact to these people. They go to farm, they mostly feed their families with the proceeds from their farming. They sell some of it and buy things they don't have. Like in my village, we do not have palm oil. So every week, you can go to a bigger market, buy palm oil. So when you tell people there, they will absolutely not react the way people, for example, in the US or the way people in Nigeria even that had lived in the city. If you grew up in the city like me and you tell me, well, all of a sudden you're not going to have police, I'm going to have a knee-jerk reaction of, oh my God, who will protect me, all of this. I'm saying this to shine light on the bias that can go through our mind. And those are real. If you are having that right now, if by telling you that we need to have a stateless society, a society without a government, and your emotions are taking over, you are feeling, oh my God, who will provide this? Who will do this? That is, if you already believe that the state is immoral, right? You believe that the state is immoral, but you are not 100% sure you want to switch because you don't know how a stateless society can provide security, national defense, and all of these things. How to help the poor. I completely understand. We've grown up in control of others, the whole of human existence. From kings and queens, all the different kinds, to democracies mostly now. So hopefully we'll be moving towards the freedom direction. But I completely don't understand. And that's what happened to this, my friend. He reacted Not based on reasons, obviously, not based on facts. Based on emotions. He thinks that with no state, the whites in America will round up the black and imprison them and enslave them. And that is not true. I will 100% take that chance because I know that won't happen for the reasons I gave. So I really want to expose that bias in us. And it's real. I'm not saying it's not real. When you feel it's real, that genuine fear of survival, of who is going to provide security, that is true. But that is because of the condition that our whole society has placed upon, we have placed upon ourselves, of having people to always rule over us. But when you think logically, you would see that a stateless society would be a lot safer. I experienced it firsthand. People in my village, although you can argue that my village is still under Nigeria, so therefore we're being provided with security. Let's say Cameroon wants to take us over. But before Nigeria came, the history of tribes in Nigerians before the arrival of government usually had lived within their tribes. So as a Hausa, you would live among houses. Only few towns had that diversity of different people because of trade. For example, Kano City. Otherwise, mostly the Igbos would live in Igbo land within themselves. People don't intermarry. And that's how all these different tribes come about, because people don't intermingle. People separated and develop their own different tribes, different languages. Within a tribe, for example, in my mother's village, people lived peacefully. You really, if you are from here and you're wondering how a stateless society would work, go to a village in Africa. Go to my mother's village and see how people are living without government, no central authority. I mean, there's a ceremonial king. It's just ceremonial. He has no power over you, your family, nothing. No taxation. You can have your business, do whatever you want. And it's very peaceful. Very, very peaceful. I lived there for almost a year when I was little. And I still have all the good memories, which mostly are. I can't remember some negatives. I mean, I was afraid of this really big bug that comes at night. We really do not have toilets in my village because of the nature of the soil. You can't build a toilet to stand. And people don't can't afford cement or concrete and things like that. So you have to go to the bush and help yourself. So at night, I do not like those bugs because they are out there trying to feed us well. Other than that, no war, no conflict, nothing. Absolutely peaceful. And that is because without government, people have morality. Yes, without government, if your source of morality says violence is bad, you are still gonna continue to uphold that. You are not going to suddenly change. You're still going to think violence is bad. This is very critical to understand. Right now, you know why we have government? Because our morality says we should. That's why we are having it. Because our morality is, violence is embedded in our morality, and that's why we have government. If everybody understands that government is violence and people don't like violence, government will go. So it's because we like violence, our cultures, violence is embedded in it. That's why we have government. So if we change our morality and we adopt stateless societies, we change our morality to non-violence and we adopt a stateless society, we are going to live peaceful. So this is real fears among people. Even I've spoken to some people, they understand that government is violence, but they can't. You've just broken one of the biggest belief. And it's hard for their brain to reconcile. I'm still struggling with it. It's not been long that I accepted that, yes, government is violence. I used to advocate for defense, police, and courts. But I thought, how would you use violence to cure violence? That doesn't make sense. Why would you rape a woman to cure her from being raped? You're only adding to her misery or his misery. So my point, I totally understand if you feel like that. You're not alone. If you want to talk, feel free. I can talk to you, whether off or on the show. I enjoy doing this, as you might have noticed. And if you are already on the side of, you accepted the fact and you reconcile it in your mind that government is violence, and you encounter people that have this emotional outburst, I understand too. Be patient with them, reason through them. You are not alone. I really appreciate you listening. If you find this material useful, please feel free to share. Thank you. Talk to you soon.